Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from SkiEssentials.com. Welcome to episode 32 of our Top 5 Fridays weekly ski industry news videos. Hopefully you guys are getting on snow. It's been really fun here in Stowe, just getting back on snow. We've had some really good weather this week and conditions at the mountain are really improving. So super fun getting out there and sliding around. We've been testing a lot of skis as we often do. A couple quick updates before we get into the news. We're still selling raffle tickets for our fundraiser. They are selling. I do expect them. I think there's a reasonably good chance they'll sell out before we draw winners on the 23rd. So if you're interested in that, definitely pick up a raffle ticket while you can. 100% of the money that we raise goes straight to local kids that basically need the financial support to be able to ski. So really fun fundraiser. We really enjoy being able to kind of give back to local youth ski programs. Our Ski Happy photo contest, the 7th annual Ski Happy photo contest kicked off this past Monday. Fisher is the sponsor for December, and they're giving away a pair of Ranger 102 FR skis. We did a little mini recap review of the Ranger. You may have saw that. I think a number of you did because we saw an increase in entries when we put that video out. If you didn't see that, or if you're unfamiliar with Ski Happy, I'm leaving a link to it in the description, as I often do with this kind of stuff. So go check it out, enter some photos, and you could win Ranger 102s, or we also give like 10 runner-up packages of a combination of Ski Essentials, clothing, accessories, and Fisher clothing, accessories, kind of whatever we get from them. So take a look at that if you're interested. And then with that said, we'll get right into the news. So starting with some FIS World Cup recaps, as we often do. Those St. Moritz races ultimately were canceled due to heavy snowfall. There were men's races. There were 2 GS men's races in Santa Catarina Valfura. Notably, Tommy Ford picked up a second place finish on the second race. I think it was on the 7th. So pretty cool to see. Ryan Cochran-Siegel also scored points in that race. I think I didn't jot it down, but I think he was 28th. So pretty cool to see some of the U.S. men getting up there in the points. That's always really fun to see for me. The men are headed to Val d'Isere this weekend for some speed events, both Super G and downhill. So those are always a pleasure to watch. And then we got an article from AP News that kind of covers Michaela Schifrin and her attitude and plans and goals going into this season. Michaela is expected to race this weekend in France, which will essentially be her first giant slalom race since January, I'm pretty sure. And we got some insights on her goals and just how she's kind of approaching this season, which is pretty much in line with, I think, what most people were kind of speculating about Michaela. But she's less focused on wins. She's more focused on just kind of catching up and not overdoing it. She specifically cited that she didn't want to feel like she was playing catch up in multiple events all at once. So with that idea, she potentially might return to speed events by the end of the year. But I would say that's like at least 50-50 and maybe more likely that she doesn't. She pretty much stated that she's not worrying about the overall at all, and also candidly came out and said that a few of her top competitors like Petra, they're ultimately in slightly better ski shape than her right now, or more podium contending ski shape. So I think this, I encourage you to go read the article yourself if you want to read a little bit more. I didn't fit in every quote there. But I think it's pretty cool to see from Michaela. She's still really young, and it just feels like really responsible decision making for her, and it's kind of refreshing to see her priorities are not just winning World Cup ski races, which I think it would be easy to think that they are. So I am 100% sure that we will see the return of Michaela Schifrin to a level of dominance on the Women's World Cup circuit. I don't think it's going to be this year. And who knows, it might not be next year either. But again, she's young and she has time to make that happen. So a couple races to look forward to this weekend if you're a fan of ski racing. And then the second topic of the week, pretty much the second topic of the week is always going to be COVID related. My colleague Matt, who writes the Top 5 Fridays article and usually picks the topics, he basically decided that number 2, we're just going to devote it to COVID until there's no news to report. So number 1, COVID update. Lake Tahoe has closed to all visitors from outside of their 3 counties. So those 3 counties basically got together and said, like, yep, this is what we need to do. There was talk of that potentially happening over the summer. It ultimately never did, but they made that decision starting today for 3 weeks, which really feels kind of similar to what's happening in Europe, which we're going to talk about in the next topic. It feels like they're just kind of trying to get through the holiday period, which makes a lot of sense to me from a planning perspective, or if you put yourself in the shoes of these people, I understand that decision making. I think they feel like if they can get through the holidays and avoid the increased density of people that the holiday brings, then they'll be able to reopen and allow people from all around the state, maybe even all around the country, to come ski and kind of save the second half of their season. So I understand that decision making. I'm sure it's a bummer to people out there in California, or anyone else that was planning on traveling to Lake Tahoe, but I suppose it is what it is. We also got Vail's Q1 through Q3 earnings report. Revenue is down 50% year over year, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But they also cited a pretty significant decrease in costs, and they also cited that they have $614 million in available cash and another $587 million in available credit, which is just good news in general. It basically means that Vail, although it would not be ideal, they could withstand at least another year of really, of drastically reduced revenue. So in other words, Vail's not going anywhere anytime soon, which for the general health of the sport of skiing is a great thing. So pretty interesting that we got those financial updates. Also notably, pass sales are up 20%. I'm pretty sure the revenue came out flat because of the credits that they gave out, but the fact that season pass sales are up 20% suggests that the health of Vail resorts is just fine looking into the future. If demand for the season passes are up that much, to me that is a good sign of things to come. Obviously, pending how this pandemic plays out. Speaking of pandemic, the third topic of the week, this is kind of piggybacking off what we talked about last week. French ski resorts are suing the French government over those lift closures. So an organization that's loosely translated in English to ski areas of France, they filed a lawsuit against the government to force them to allow operation of lifts through the holidays. So pretty much exactly what we were just talking about with Lake Tahoe. They're trying to close to the outside public through the holidays to save the second half of their season. But the kind of the focus of this lawsuit is that it in doing so, they're causing more harm than benefit, which is totally up to interpretation, and that's we'll have to see what the courts decide. But basically, what they're saying here is that decision would cause between $2.66 and $3.325 billion in loss, which is roughly 20 to 25% of the total annual ski industry revenue in France. So I, again, totally understand where they're coming from. This will be a really interesting one to watch and see if anything happens, if they are forced to open. It's a tricky situation. I think that's the only thing you can say about it. It's just, I am anxiously awaiting the outcome of this lawsuit, and yeah, we'll see what happens. And then the fourth topic of the week, the X Games is looking to move forward with no crowds. So ESPN officially submitted their permit request to Pitkin County, which is home to Aspen Snowmass, and the difference here is that they're moving forward with no crowds, and also they're only going to focus on skiing and snowboarding events. So they're definitely just trying to decrease the total amount of people that they would be bringing in here. You know, if they did every event that they usually do at the Winter X Games, even without crowds, I think that would draw a massive amount of people. So no snowmobiles, no snow motocross racing, no modified shovel racing, although I don't think they've done modified shovel racing in like 20 years. I think that just like everyone got hurt when they did that. If you remember modified shovel racing, leave a comment and tell me whether you really enjoyed watching modified shovel racing or not. Or tell me if you think I'm crazy and you have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, that modified shovel racing was always really entertaining to me. The things would just get like torn apart on the way down. So I'm a big fan of X Games, coming from a kind of freestyle, slopestyle background. Really enjoy watching X Games. I think they do a fantastic job with the coverage. So I'm really happy to hear that they are moving forward with it. Kind of a bummer to those that prefer the motorized and other sports there at the X Games, but for me, as long as I get some skiing and snowboarding, I'm a pretty happy camper. And then finally, we have our edits of the week. First one is more than an edit. It's like, I think it was almost 40 minutes long. It's called The Mountain Why, produced by Red Bull, and it basically highlighting Cody Townsend and Michelle Parker, who are longtime friends, and they embarked on a 1,000-mile bike-to-ski adventure, which it's a pretty substantial trip, so to speak. So I really encourage you to watch that if you have time. Very well done. Next, we have Skivas from Monster Energy, which is I'd call this one a short film. I believe I'm pretty sure it was shorter than 20 minutes. I can't remember. I watched it right before this. But a short film focused on basically the strong progression that's happening right now in women's free skiing. There's really, there's some new players in women's free skiing and new tricks and new terrain being skied and just pretty good level of progression happening in the women's free skiing side of things right now, which is really cool to see. And then third edit of the week, this was amazing to watch. Jacob Smith, who's a legally blind 12-year-old skier, his vision is like 2,800 or something. They cite it in the edit, so definitely check this one out. This one's only like 4 or 5 minutes long. He was the first legally blind skier, and again, he's 12, to ski the Big Couloir in Big Sky. And yeah, it's just a very inspiring little watch. And it won't take you long to watch it, and I guarantee you will be glued to the screen the entire time. And then last edit of the week, boy, these guys have been at it for a while. It feels like, it feels like just yesterday, but it doesn't feel like yesterday. It almost feels like an entire lifetime ago. Traveling Circus has just released episode 13.3. Will Wesson lived on my couch in Mammoth for like 3 months. I don't know. Will, if you watch this, tell me if I'm wrong, if it was less than that. But for a substantial amount of time, Will and I went to school together as well. And that was way back in like 2005, I think before Traveling Circus ever even started. And now they're on season 13. So kudos to Will, Andy, and the rest of the crew. You guys continue to kill it. The new van looks amazing. They did a kind of fundraiser campaign to help fund their new van, and part of this episode is showing the new van. Looks great. Andy, your van conversion skills are killer. I think if anything, if this Traveling Circus episode confirms anything, it's how hilarious Andy Perry is, and how gifted both of them are at rails in very different ways. Andy does things that I've never seen anybody else do. And yeah, Will is easily one of the most talented rail skiers on the planet from a slightly more traditional perspective. But yeah, you don't see many people fast sliding through quad kinks. And if you don't know what that is, just watch the whole episode, and I think it's the last trick. So that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's episode. We're going to be trying to release as much kind of on-snow review content as we can over the next few weeks and months. So as always, let us know if there's something that you want to see, if there's a ski that we haven't reviewed yet or haven't talked about yet and you want to hear about it, let us know, and we will try and get to it. And we will see you guys out there on the slopes. Bob is up there right now skiing with his kids. I'm sure some of you are wondering where Bob is. He's not here physically or digitally. We've been trying to get him back. He's been spending a lot of time on snow with his family, which is great. So we won't pull him away from family ski time. We'll let him have his fun, and ultimately we'll have him back in here someday. So yeah, hopefully you're all getting out on the slopes, and we will talk to you soon.